Do you ever look around and think, wow, the world is a crazy place, and it just seems to get crazier and crazier? Ease your mind and take a break. This is Fuel for the Soul with John Giftah. We're a hub for inspirational Christian sermons, practical keys for Christian living, and Christian discussions and interviews. You'll be inspired to live the life that you were created for. Your host is a top-ranking podcaster, best-selling author, world record holder, aerospace engineer, life coach, evangelist, and founder of John Giftah International. Welcome to Fuel for the Soul with John Giftah.
Today, I want to talk to you about an important aspect about keeping your intentions clear. Keeping your intentions clear. Be clear on your intentions. See, there is an aspect where you need to remember that, yes, you need to be polished or you need to be refined in the way you speak, in the way you convey things. All that is true. But at the same time, you should also understand that you should be bold on your actions. You should be bold on your intentions. You should be in a place where you're saying, you know what, you let your yes be yes and your no be no. If you stand for something, you should show it. You should be able to, maybe with regard to your actions, with regard to your words, somewhere down the line, when there's a place where you need to stand firm on it, when you need to show that this is what you believe, it should be visibly seen. Okay, you can't beat around the bush all the time. You can't play it safe all the time. You need to understand there are places where you need to make your intentions clearly known. And one of the best examples I want to share quickly with you in today's episode is one of the brothers of Joseph, and his name is Reuben. When you look at the old story of Joseph, the Bible talks about how when Joseph shared about his dreams, all his brothers hated him, which it doesn't say that only some of the brothers hated him. It's very clear. It says his brothers hated him more. His brothers were against him. They did not want to stand by. They were always like in a place like, oh my goodness, what is happening? What is this Joseph thinking of himself? Both incidents, both the times he got dreams, his brothers, the Bible is constantly saying, if you look at the 37th chapter of Genesis, it says that the brothers hated him. Okay, they were jealous of Joseph. But you see, there was a time when Joseph goes to give food to his brothers to take care of them, and the brothers were plotting to kill Joseph. But here's the thing, verse 21 says that Reuben, the eldest son of Joseph's dad, Jacob, he says, when he heard about their schemes, he came to Joseph's rescue. He says, let's not kill him. Why should we shed innocent blood? Let's throw him into the empty cistern in the wilderness. Let him die without us laying our hands on him. But the verse goes on to say, he was secretly planning to rescue Joseph and return him to his father. So he had good intentions. He wanted to rescue Joseph. Even though you see initially all the brothers hated him, which means even he could have harbored some hatred, but he still had that love towards his brother. He wanted to care for him. He didn't want to harm him. But I was just wondering, why wasn't he bold enough to say, hey, listen, I don't want you to lay your hand upon him? Why wasn't he clear on his intentions? Why wasn't he telling them this is what it was? But and on top of that, when you know that their brothers are not in a good mood or in a good frame of thinking, you should be careful, right? It says that he left that place and he was not there, and that is when the brothers immediately sold Joseph off as a slave. Okay, what I want you to understand is, if you see, I'm just going to the point quickly, that when he comes back in verse 29, it says, sometime later Reuben returned to take Joseph out of the cistern, and then he realized that they had already sold him as a slave. Joseph was no longer there. Like, when you know that your brothers are like this, why would you leave Joseph there, and where would you go? Why would you leave like that and go? And it's not like just going to the washroom and coming. Like, it's not like a few minutes thing, because this would have involved some time. Why would you leave your brother somebody else's mercy. I mean, when you know what they're capable of. When you look at all these questions, you realize that he had good intentions, but he was not bold enough to walk according to those intentions. He had good things in mind. He wanted to do this to rescue his brother, but he was not bold enough to step up and do it. Step up and speak against his brothers and say, okay, I don't want you to do this, and rescue his brother in front of them. He didn't want. Maybe he wanted their favor. He wanted to be in their good books. You see, you have to be clear that just because you want to be in the good books of the bad gang, don't miss out on something good for your life, right? If Reuben had rescued Joseph, he could have been the hero of the story, but he didn't. He was not bold enough to do that. And even later, when you see how when they were all in trouble, Reuben actually says, this happens in chapter 42, when they're all in trouble. Reuben says in verse 22, "Didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy?" Reuben asked. "You wouldn't listen." Which means he had the thing to speak to them and say, hey, don't do this too. But he didn't have any hold, or it was beyond his control. Sometimes you see, you can have that stand, but you're not willing to go beyond it. See, sometimes you have to remember that Reuben was the eldest son, and as the eldest son, he could have taken the authority over his brothers and say, no, I'm going to rescue Joseph. But he didn't do it. He maybe spoke, he said don't do anything against him, but he was not clear on his intentions. And because of that, you see, even later, Reuben ends up losing his firstborn blessing. Okay, he was the firstborn. He lost that blessing because you see, the Bible actually goes on to say, if you look at Genesis 35 verse 22, that he actually slept with his dad's spouse. Okay, you have to remember something here. In fact, even when the Jacob was giving out the blessing in the end, he actually told him that you lose your firstborn blessing because you defiled your dad's bed, basically. In other words, what you see about Reuben, what you can learn from Reuben is this, that he was clear on certain things, that okay, I want to do something good. But you see something here, his intention was right about some things, but his actions were always in the wrong, and that's why he messed up a lot of things. Today I want to ask you this question. You may be in a place where your intention is right, but you're not bold enough to step up and do what is right. My challenge to you is, let your intentions be clearly seen, let it be clearly known, and let it bring forth something good in and through your life. That's what I want to share with you guys. This is a short lesson we can learn from the life of Reuben, right? This is one of the characters I always think about, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this Reuben. He actually had good intentions, but why? He didn't even get any special favor or blessing because of good intentions. You see, good intentions alone will not help you unless you act and let your good intentions bring forth some good results or bring good actions out of your life.
You've been listening to Fuel for the Soul with John Giftah. We hope you were blessed and inspired to live the life that God has for you. Make sure to subscribe to the John Giftah YouTube channel for regular uploads of sermons, skits, interviews, and more. Follow John Giftah on Instagram for regular inspirational posts. And don't forget to check out the best-selling books written by John Giftah, Who Am I?, which will help you understand your identity, and the latest #1 bestseller, Unveil Your Purpose, helping you discover your purpose and to start walking in it. Make sure to leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends and loved ones. If you'd like to donate, you can find the PayPal link in the description. And if you'd like to invite John Giftah to speak at your event or to get more details, go to the website at www.johngiftah.com. See you on the next episode of The Fuel for the Soul with John Giftah. God bless you.
If your heart stops beating now, do you know where you're going? If you came face to face with death now, do you know where you're going? And this is not a message of condemnation. This is a message of hope. There is a God who loves you so much. He sent His only Son, Jesus Christ, to come down and pay a heavy price by shedding every drop of His blood on the cross. Thank you for dying for my sins. When you believe in Him, you have free gift of salvation for you. That assures us that we will go to heaven when we die instead of suffering in hell forever. I just encourage you today to make the simple step of faith and say, Jesus, I thank you for what you did on the cross. Thank you for giving me this gift of eternal life.